with regard to when I was growing up, there were two popular culture stories in science about, we'll say, physics or engineering. Okay, one of them was scientists did a study, and based on the anatomy of the hand, the study they did, they said that somebody like Mozart or any accomplished pianist technically should not be able to do what they're doing. The hand doesn't give any indication that it can move like it does or do what it does in terms of playing the piano. So that was one of the studies, and I found that fascinating. Now, I haven't looked to see what the answers are to that these days, but I found that really fascinating. It was kind of a neat point of conversation that you couldn't, basically, we're not supposed to be able to do what we're doing, but the hand works based on what we will it to do, what we want it to do. So then there was another one about bumblebees, which said that a bumblebee can't fly technically, aerodynamically, but because it doesn't know it can fly, then it does. So now that one I know has kind of been put to rest because they've done extra studies in recent years with the engineering and the technology available to actually discover what they're doing to get off the ground. So that would not be true to say that they can't fly, but they fly because they don't know it. That's what they used to say. But it still went along the lines of what I was hearing when I was younger, so this is something that was inspiring me to think about. So along those lines, even though both of those have probably with technology great explanations now, it caused me to think about one last aspect of this ring finger thing. And that was, I heard of a very famous pianist who said that he, in an interview, that he was using his ring finger and had developed it so it would work like the other fingers. And this gave him extra mobility, extra dexterity, and extra freedom when he was improvising. Now, that one really got me. Because, of course, when I was first starting to study jazz and improvisation, coming from, pop music or rock and roll, or a basic playing by ear, it was like I was playing with two bricks in my hand. There was like no dexterity, and I wanted to know how to get more dexterity. So I really thought about that one and took that to heart. And I started thinking, well, how do you get your fingers to do those things? So one thing along the lines I can share with you, my first jazz piano teacher said, when you're playing your scales, play them a little slow and think. When you get to your ring finger, wherever it lands in the scale, push harder and then keep going. This gets you thinking about what's involved in using that fourth finger, and that develops not just the finger, but also the idea that you need to be conscious of that so that it's not a weakness anymore, it's part of your hand. You have 5 fingers to play with, and you want to be seeing it that way and thinking that way. So that was a really great suggestion, and I started there. But then, being the way I am, I started thinking, I want my ring finger to move independent from my other fingers. So I came up with this little thing that I'm going to show you close up now that I developed, and I want to share it with you. Okay, notice that this music stand is kind of high up so I can have my arm like I would have it when I'm playing the piano. It's easier to do this with your arm straight out. So the other arm as well. So this is here's my left arm. And then I can do this much easier this way than if the wrist is bent or I'm coming down here. It's just not as comfortable. It doesn't mean it will hurt you. It's just harder with that little bit of a bend there. And it can do it, but it's much more easy and easier to train and think about. And plus, you're thinking in terms of reaching out and playing the piano. So you want your arms kind of straight like you would do, in playing the piano. And you really can get, that thing moving. You can see here, this guy's really moving, like, any of my other fingers. Now, there's a limited motion compared to the others because of the way the hand's made, but it's, and they all the hands a lot of times will click there at that knuckle, so that doesn't mean anything, but getting that, each individual, and then being able to do this. This gives you a lot of motion, not necessarily in speed operation, but in like inner voicings or control, playing inner voicings, playing slow movement, or playing chords, just in general having more command over your hands and more control in certain situations. And it can help a lot with keyboards because they don't respond like a piano. As you know, piano is much more real to play on, more hammer action, more percussive. And keyboards, sometimes you need a little bit more finesse and a little more, even more cleanly technique than you do on piano, because the solid state circuitry picks up everything. If you miss a line, it's very audible. So this is an example of something that you can work towards. Now I want to talk about how you can get there, okay? So let's do that. Okay, so this is something I give to my students, and I call it the ring finger challenge. So I'll say, like to a child or a young person, I'll say, hey, if you can get this going, then I'll give you your favorite candy bar. And that tends to be a good incentive for kids. Or I might say to teenagers, you know what, if you can get this going, I'll give you $20 and a $20 bill. And one hand, you don't have to have them both, just do that and I'll give you $20 as soon as you show me you can do it. And then of course with adult students, I'll show them I can do this and we just have fun with it. And because they can make their own money and they can buy their own candy. But still, it's really fun to try. Now, what you're doing is at first, it's not going to do it. You're going to be sitting there trying to do it and it's not going to move at all. But if you keep looking at that and thinking of what you want that finger to do, that finger is going to come up and it's going to get off the ground. It's going to get off the table. And if you can make that finger come up like that and move on its own, then you start trying to go side to side. You can make that finger move side to side without moving the rest of your hand, and you're looking at that and really concentrating on that. Then you are creating the illusion, if you will, to your ring finger that there is independent tendons for that part of your hand. You're sending down something that's not there, and you're saying it is there, and that is making that happen. And this is something that we all can benefit from as humans. We can overcome so many things, but it sometimes just takes a little bit of patience and remembering the most important thing is you don't say can't. If you say can't, everything's over. So when I have students who I give the ring finger challenge, the next week they come in, I say, hey, how's that ring finger challenge going? Oh, I'm just not. So, okay, fine. Well, we'll check next week. After 2 or 3 weeks of asking, I never asked again. But I've had so many students of all ages come in 2, 3 weeks later, and they're almost able to do it where I'm at. 2 or 3 weeks. So this is something you can do away from the piano, and you can have fun. And I hope you will. So this is why I wanted to share that. So is it going to make you a better improviser if you can do this or not? I don't think so. But I think in the end of the analysis here, what it really will do for your improvisation is it shows you that you can overcome any barrier if you really want to. And that is what you need to be able to improvise. No fear, trust that what you're doing is okay and right, and staying on that mission and doing it at all costs. That can help you improvise. So the physical aspect of it might not make you a better improviser in terms of technique or linear motion or understanding of theory, but the actual idea that you can overcome something like that that's anatomical could set you free. It did for me, and that's why I wanted to share it. See you next time.